is unwell due to he has dengue. He told me the last time I spoke to him, so he said he won't be able to come for the presentation. So may I give the presentation by myself, sir?
Please start.
Just sharing the screen, sir. Just a minute, sir. So just a minute, sir. So, I don't know, sir, why I'm not able to share my screen. Is this?
And Uneza, who is presenting with you?
Sir Zoya. Sir Zoya is presenting with me.
Okay.
Sir, may I be given like 10 to 5 minutes? Can I give the presentation after Uneza, if she's okay with it?
Uneza, are you ready?
Yes, sir, I'm fine. It's fine.
Please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Zoya, are you there?
Okay, good morning everyone. Today I, Uneza, will be taking up this topic by Joseph L. Bidriaco, managing yourself and how to tackle your toughest decision. Every manager, every human being have to take a tough call. It comes with the job. But what are those situations when one has to take these tough calls? So basically, these are the gray area problems. These are the areas, all the facts. We have done the best analysis we can, but we still don't know what to do. We deal with a highly uncertain problem, and we face a challenge not just to our skills, but to our humanity. And also, these are the areas where one can show the leadership skills, because the leader has many skills, and one among them is that they are leading in the context of ambiguity. So in these gray areas, your job is not just to find the solution, but you have to create them. You have to take judgments, you have to rely on those judgments, and you have to make hard choices at times, because a leader doesn't have freedom to unlimited resources. And whenever we get stuck in the gray area problem, our approach to resolve this problem should be from the point of view of a thoughtful human being, not from the point of a manager. So these are the 5 questions that help us to tackle the toughest problem. And these 5 questions are not the easy one. We have to struggle through these questions. And with the gray area problems, we can never be sure that we have taken the right decision. So if we systematically take all these questions and answer them, we will know that we have approached our problem in the right manner. Because each question is important. Each question asks you to make use of your judgment. Because at the end, it's your judgment and you are going to live with it. So the questions are the net consequences. What are my core obligations? What will work in the world as it is? Who we are? And what can I live with? Coming to the first question, net consequences. The first question says, I have really got a tough problem. I need to look it thoroughly and consider every course of action which is available to me. It is the business of the benevolent to seek to promote what is beneficial to the world and to eliminate what is harmful. Whenever we work in an organization, the tendency is that we go for the shorter term consequences or just the immediate ones. But we have to avoid that. We have to go for the full consequences. Our decision is going to affect the lives rights of the people. And we can also think it like it's a decision tree where we have got a bunch of choices, they have consequences, and we are really looking them. The only leader on Olympus is really a bad model. These gray area problem, they cannot be solved by one person alone. We have to create a team, we have to gather the experts, and we have to assign the devil advocate so that they can point out hole in our thinking and put valid arguments. The second question is the core obligations. Once you have thought hard about the consequences, now what are the basic human duties that you have got to do in this situation? This question asks which duties you think are foremost. For example, I can say that I have got a duty not to lie people, to respect people, and not to put innocent people at serious risk. So it is a question of personal judgment. It has got ethical elements to it also. There might some very good consequences that may work pretty well, but we may put them off the table because we feel our duties towards certain people. The third question is what will work in the world as it is? It is essentially the Machiavelli's question, what will work in the world as it is? Because Machiavelli saw this world a very unpredictable place, which is full of a lot of people pursuing their own self-interest. So this question asks you, do you have a plan which is resilient enough, which is going to work against the range of possibilities? And are you resilient enough to persevere a plan and modifying it whenever it's necessary? The fourth question is who we are. It goes with a very common saying that I am because we are. Our behavior and identities are shaped by the group in which we live and work. So this question asks you to think about your decision in terms of relationship, your norms, and your values. This question asks what really matters to you and to your company. And to get this answer, you should try to understand the situation in terms of some of the defining experiences in your organization history that matters to you and help you understand what your organization stands for. The last question is living with your decision. The clarity comes from this question. Clarity doesn't come from the analysis, it comes from the decision. And good judgment relies on two things, understanding and analysis of the situation, values, ideals, and experience of whoever will be making the decision. One can say that we have thought about the consequences, duties, values. Now this is my decision, this is my call, and I can live with this decision as a human being and as a manager. It might be possible that in this gray area we won't find a solution. We have to create them, and it is possible that we might only met a minimum level of acceptability. We may be lucky or unlucky. No one knows that. So the gray area decisions, they reflect and reveal the personal priorities of the person who makes them. So till now we have covered what are the gray areas and the 5 questions that help us to tackle the toughest problem at the work. Now for the question will be taken up by Vanessa.
Moving on to the case study, where we have a manager named Becky Friedman who has recently joined an organization in which Fletcher has been working for quite some time. Although the earlier manager has always provided Fletcher with a good rating of about 3.5 on a 5-point performance scale, but Friedman thought that his work did not merit that. She always provided him the opportunities to develop his skills, but Fletcher was unable to perform. So she decided to drop his ratings to 2.5 and put him on PIP, a path to dismissal. Soon, 2 of the VPs of the company got wind of her plans and paid a visit to Fletcher. They asked her whether she was sure about her decision and the real problem might be her management. Soon, the situation was no longer black and white. She has entered a gray area and felt stuck. She then thoroughly went through the 5 questions. She evaluated through the 5 questions. Moving on, where we had the 5 questions, she evaluated all the possibilities and their consequences, stick to her plan, abandon it, or find a middle ground. She also looked for her duties to her team, including Fletcher, her organization, and the VPs. She evaluated the practical realities of the organization, weighed the defining norms and values of her various social groups. She also thought about her own abiding sense of what really matters in life. She thought if she continues with her plan, then the VPs of the company could withhold her resources and may even force her out of the company. She was even worried about the Fletcher, who seems to be off balance and have little things going well in his life. How would a poor review and a possible job loss will affect him not just financially but also psychologically? If she abandons her plans, she still will have a dead weight on her team, which will prevent them from attaining the ambitious goals of the team and will also demoralize its diligent members. The VPs might also take her capitulation as a sign of her weakness and may prevent her from moving up higher in the leadership ranks. Middle ground options, such as providing Fletcher with more opportunities or giving him a warning, seem to be much promising. But she wasn't sure that will that not lead to any sort of backlash from the VPs, or will Fletcher will improve his performance? So, after much deliberation, Brightman decided to try a counseling session with Fletcher. She opened up the discussion by telling him that she has decided to drop his rating, but she won't be putting him on PIP because that will be too demeaning. She also asked him to consider the department's recent hire, all of whom are technologically sound. Will he be really happy and successful while working along with them? She concluded by telling him that if for the next several months he can look for a new job in the new organization while continuing for the present one. She was happy and relieved when the anger of Fletcher over the bad rating was subsided, and he told that he was already being toying with the idea of looking for a new job in an organization. Meanwhile, Brightman continued to thrive and Fletcher joined a new organization. Of course, Fletcher has put herself in a right position by getting the process right. She has also thought of other well-thought tactics if the present one doesn't work. Moving on to the learnings. In our life, where we have very few black and white situations where all the facts are in and the decision is quite apparent, it is these murky questions with darker shades of gray which require to be solved systematically through these 5 questions. To grapple with these questions, you have to rely on the best information and expertise available. Leader's job is to create solutions rather than finding them, and for that, the leader has to rely on his own judgment. Work through it as a manager and resolve it as a human being. Working as a manager means you have to have a good understanding of the problem, and that can be done by working with other team members. Nothing can be solved in isolation or with intellect. And resolve it with a human being means you have to know what your actions, what your decisions will have an effect on the people surrounding you. People and events can take unexpected twists. That's the problem with the gray area decision. You're never so sure that you have made the right call. But if you follow the process systematically, maybe you might not take the decision as a good manager, but you may take a decision as a good human being. Life isn't a black and white, it's a million gray areas. Don't you find at any stage, at every point of your life, you find a lot of gray areas. For example, you have a friend and he is engaged in something unethical, and you may become impulsive and try to correct him then and there. Or you may tell one of his guardians about his situation. But in these sort of situations, please don't become impulsive. Be calm and try to solve the situation. Try to take your decision with calm so that you end up taking a wise decision. Thank you.
Imran, are you ready now?
Yes, sir. Just give me a second, sir. Yes, sir. I am, sir. Yes, sir. I'm so sorry for the delay, sir. Is my slide available? Is my slide visible to you, sir?
Very much.
Okay. So, good morning, all of you. My name is Hafiz Imran Javed, and today I'm going to be presenting my presentation, which is on the topic the kinesthetic speaker putting action into words by Nick Morgan. As the quote says, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. So the topic is about what is happening. The topic is about.
Go ahead.
Yes. So the topic is about kinesthetic speakers. So I'd like to introduce. Is it? Why is it not?
Why you are so?
Sir, something is wrong with the laptop. I'm not able to get. Why is it not working? The way I made it. It's not working the way it should. Okay, sir. Maybe it should work now. Let's start streaming. Sir, I may have to join the meeting. I'm so sorry for the delay, sir.
I think it is happening primarily because of internet connection. That seems to be unstable.
Sir, is my slide visible now? Am I audible, sir? Hello?
Yes, Imran, you are audible.
Oh, sir, may I start? I'm so sorry for the delay, sir. May I start?
Please go ahead.
Yes, sir, listening and I'm just waiting for sir confirmation from sir. He's here.
I think sir is not there as Varis is hospital.
Sir has left the meeting.
वाह क्या किया जाए?
We'll wait for sir.
Now it's working.
I hope it is all right now.
Yes, sir.
Please start.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. I'm so sorry for the delay. So let me begin again. Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all of you. My name is Hafiz Imran Javed, and today I'm going to be sharing with you all my presentation, which is about on the topic the kinesthetic speaker putting action into words. As the quote says, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. It's an article by Nick Morgan in the Harvard Business Review, and I am going to discuss my thoughts about this article. So I'd like to move forward with the introduction part. So moving forward, who are kinesthetic speaker. But before we get into the part of kinesthetic speakers, I'd like to tell you about how this word comes into existence. It comes from the word kinesthesia, which can be defined as a sense mediated by the receptors which are present in our tendons, ligaments in our body, and the sense is simulated by the bodily movements and tension. Like for example, when you touch something with your hand and you feel it's cold, so you remember that sensation, and it is embedded in your mind that this particular thing is cold, and you remember this thing. So there is a matter of remembering things. So one of this is kinesthetic, and that is what it means. So now the question comes: who are kinesthetic speakers? There are different types of speakers. There are different types of presenters, and they make different types of. They try different type of tricks and like trades to make their presentation better. So as the last line of the quote says, "Involve me and I will understand." So the best example of I can give you of a kinesthetic speaker is of a magician. As the magician picks someone from the audience as a volunteer, they ask them voluntarily, ask them, "Okay, do you want to participate in the act?" So that person feels connected. He feels like part of the act. What differs him from the audience is that he feels connected, and he feels as he is a part. He is like accomplice to the magician. So he will remember that the place he went to because of that sensation, because he was chosen to be a part of the act. So kinesthetic speaker make use of the connecting with the audience. They interact with the audience one-on-one. They capture the attention of the audience. They start interacting with the audience, and they start utilizing the space on what they are like speaking. For example, if they are speaking on a stage, so they pace their movements in a way according to how they are responding and how their presentation is going. So now we'll move on to some examples. The first example that came to my mind was of Steve Jobs. As Dr. Ahmed Faraz sir told us in the class, that Steve Jobs, being who he was, would like start preparing for the presentation months before the actual presentation. And for the last 48 hours before the presentation, he would lock himself in a room and he would just continuously prepare for the presentation, like talking to himself and making notes and doing things. So this is I'm going to play a video for a few seconds. And you will get to know that how he manipulates the crowd, how he interacts with the crowd. It is the video of the first iPhone launch, and he makes a phone call to his friend, and he tells him and he calls him. So the person in the audience, you can see from his reaction that how moved he was by the gesture from Steve Jobs. So there you go. So as you can see from this reaction that how he was moved and how he is connected and how Steve Jobs have made him a part of the presentation. So I'm going to show you 2 more slides, and then I'm going to like conduct an experiment, feedback experiment. So the people who are listening, please listen to it carefully, and I'll ask you like a simple question after this video. This video, these are the 2 people who are mentioned in the article by Nick Morgan. These are the people James Champy and Gary Hamel. They both have different styles of presenting. So now I'd like to present the video. So now what I was thinking about conducting an experiment through this presentation is that you have heard these three speakers. And first of all, I would like to ask you about the question that do you like my presentation style? Like I have tried to get something, like I've tried something new. I've tried to make this PowerPoint presentation a little bit more realistic and using different animations and transition. So if anyone from the class would like to answer the question, if they may please.
Yes. The presentation is good.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And as you heard the three speakers before, as I mentioned, the Steve Jobs, James Champy, and Gary Hamel. So, do you notice something about which of these would you prefer? Like, who do you feel connected to the most?
So Mr. Jobs.
Mr. Jobs. Okay, thank you so much. I'll get back to this after this. So now we go to the big concept. See, what is the big concept of the presentation? The idea of presenting something is either to sell something or to convey a message that the speaker wants to give. So the process of doing that is to grab the attention. So, for example, if you go to a concert, so there is the main artist does not come in the first place. There is an opening act. The person who is doing something to catch the attention of the people, like the crowd is involved in different activities. They're clicking selfies, they're making memories. But the opening act comes, and the opening act, what he does is, and what he or she does is, they grab the attention of the audience and they focus the attention on the stage. Then after that, when the attention is grabbed, then the connection is made. Then the main lead player or the main artist would come and perform. And then when he connects, and after that he will present the best impactful song in the last. So the final blow he delivers is the last song is the action which he wants to convey, or which is the selling point of his album. So this is the concept of as I tried to explain through a concert. Now we go to the facts, do's and don'ts. So these are some facts about presentation. These are the technical aspects of presentation. Like for example, spacing is mentioned. The spacing of 0 to 18 inches is considered intimate, personal, and so forth and so on. But the thing is, with spacing, it is the speaker is far away from the audience, so it is difficult for him to maintain a connection. So this the aspect of spacing comes into play when the speaker has to come down with the audience and make a connection with the audience. Then we move on to body languages. See, positive gestures. This plays a very important role. As there's a caveman theory which suggests that people subconsciously notice the hands of the people who are coming towards them, because as in the early times of the cavemen, they were very simple people, and they knew if someone has a blunt instrument in their hand, so the other person would know that this person is a threat. And if the other person has nothing in their hand, then they will feel comfortable approaching that person. So it is embedded in our mind till now. So we subconsciously notice the hand gestures and the gestures and the way the person is moving. For example, if someone is have a posture like this, it does not encourage people to come and approach you, because it suggests as a not welcoming gesture. But if someone has their arms open and they're talking to you with their hand gestures and positive hand gestures, then it makes the other person feel comfortable. And if the person is comfortable, then automatically he feels connected to you. And the negative aspect is the nervousness. If you're nervous throughout the presentation, as I was a little ago, so you won't be able to perform the 100% of your ability, because as our teachers and parents say, if you get nervous, you won't be able to perform. You will forget whatever you've learned. So this is the thing that needs to be kept in mind. So the other one is the do's and the don'ts. The do's, what a presenter should do is they focus on the audience. You should not focus on the audience as a whole, but you should use audience intermediaries, and you should connect with them individually. Try to connect with them individually, and there should be harmony in your movement. The way you're talking, whatever you are trying to suggest should convey. Your mouth and your hand should be in harmony, in synchronization with each other. And you should read the clues from the audience. If the audience is feeling a little dim, so you talk to them about things that make them feel comfortable. And the authentic content part comes from, if you have the authentic content, if you have made the presentation by yourself, then you will be okay. But if you have made someone else has made the presentation, then it's not very easy for the presenter to carry forward that. And variation means like pacing up upon a variation. It's a very good part of a presentation that you vary the amount, the speed and your flow of talking, and where you have to pause and where you have to take a sip, and these are the things that matters. The don'ts of the presentation speak like you are speaking to the public in general and making unnecessary movements, or you're crossing your arms, which I stated earlier. Now, an interesting part which I came across, it was written to be as Harvard School formula, but I could not find the authenticity of the this technique. But I found it very interesting. So it's called PREPI, which is, I'm stating, for example, I'm taking an example of smoking cigarettes. So when a presenter is talking about smoking cigarettes, so he'll present his point of view as smoking cigarette is injurious to health. Then he will go on to give the reasoning that smoking like cigarette causes cancer and ultimately leads to death. Then he'll quote some examples or evidence or statistics that around 100,000 people die every year after smoking, like due to tobacco, due to cancer. Then he'll again restate his point of view as if you want to live longer, as if you want a healthy life, you should like stop smoking or you should not start smoking. And then comes part you, as if you will take the initiative. And you will say, okay, let us take a pledge and not to smoke again or not to start smoking. So now comes the conclusion part. As I said, I'd like to conclude with these points. The kinesthetic speaker need to remember a lot of things in order to make the presentation memorable. And the idea of the presentation or the speaker is to connect with the audience, which is the key point. If you can connect with the audience, then you will be able to convey a message properly. And unnecessary movements should be avoided, and anything should be avoided that distracts the audience from the main perspective. And you can use visual aids, you can use different sort of presentation and things, but it cannot carry the weight of the presentation. You have to speak, and your content should have context enough. So thus I thank you and conclude my presentation. Thank you so much. Am I audible, sir? Am I audible? This was all from my side, sir. Sir, I think you're muted, sir. Parvesh, sir, you're muted.
So we have 13 odd minutes to go for this session. So I very quickly want to have first the reflections of the speakers themselves, and we begin with Zoya Khalid. What do you feel or reflect on your performance?
Sir, I think I need to connect more with the audience and be more energetic while presenting.
Okay. And Oneza, what about you?
Sir, I think our presentation was smooth. There were no fillers, but there is always a scope for improvement. And sir, as you have pointed out in my last presentation, that I need to fix my technical issues. I have tried my level best this time so that there is no interruption in my presentation.
Okay. And Imran?
So firstly, I would like to apologize for the delays that I caused. I tried to make the PPT presentation more unique. I tried to use some animation, so I had to borrow a laptop which I did not know the technicalities of. So this is why I got delayed. But otherwise, I prepared for the presentation, and there were some fillers in my voice as I was fumbling because of whatever happened. But I think there's a lot of scope for improvement, sir.
Any feedback from the audience? In fact, if you have, you can write it on the chat box. That's a better way, because then I can also build on that idea. So if you have some feedback to each of these three speakers, please share it on the chat box. Now let me begin my own assessment, and I start with Zoya. I think, Zoya, overall you have very good command over language, and that's a most important strength that we need to make an impact as a speaker. So you have good command over language. Now your assessment is that perhaps you may connect better with the audience. Now two things you can address. One is very simple. One is the location of the camera. What was happening is that only the upper part of your face was visible. The rest of it was blank. So you could adjust your camera in a manner so that, if you can be more, yes, that's better. Because then you are closer to the audience. So this is something which can easily be done. And what I noted, where you have kept the material from which you were reading?
I have seen the YouTube video, and from that I have taken the idea of them.
No. I am simply asking you. You were referring to certain text while making the presentation. So where that was kept?
That was by the side of the laptop.
Okay. Maybe because of that, there was a problem of shifting gaze. You were not able to look straight into the camera and connect with the audience. Because in an offline presentation, it is easy, but in an online presentation, we have to make a special effort to connect with the audience, especially the eye contact. So if we look straight into the camera, naturally, if we are referring to the written text which is kept by our side, naturally, and if we are reading it or if we are referring to it more often than required, then it is likely that we may lose touch with the audience. Okay. So this is something which you can take care of. But otherwise, as I noted, that you have very good command over language. And if you are able to internalize your content to such an extent that you are required to consult the written text less often, then I think, or if there could be some arrangement, I don't know, in the PowerPoint presentation, this possibility was there that you can have your notes in the Word format, at the bottom of the presentation, so that you don't have to refer to in a written text kept at a separate place. So I don't know how will you sort it out, but my key point is, if you are less dependent on the written text kept elsewhere, you will be able to connect better with the audience. Now, Oneza, that's good that you have been able to address all the technical issues that you faced last time. But I still feel that your facial expressions are slightly more tense than required. You could have more relaxed, like for example, now you are smiling, maybe you think that now the job is over, so I can relax. At that point of time, it appeared as if you are, a bit worked up by the situation and not in your natural self. So try to maintain more relaxed facial expressions, as if you are enjoying the situation. From your demeanor, from your facial expressions especially, it was appearing as if you are taking it too seriously. So yes, we should be serious about the job, but somebody used the expression, we should be carefully casual. So if you can maintain that demeanor, it would do good to you. Otherwise, you have got a resonating voice, so that's a very important strength of a good speaker. So you are blessed with that. You can always use that to the hilt, and then you will make a mark. In fact, you did make a mark. Somebody noted that you did exceptionally well. But I will not go by that hyperbolic language. I will state, yes, you have good strengths. Yes, they need to be leveraged even better.
Thank you, sir. I'll keep in mind.
Now, as far as Imran is concerned, I appreciate the hard work that you have put in for making this presentation. Naturally, it requires a lot of preparation, getting the clips, video clips of the three speakers whom you were referring to, and then using animations, all that. So you have put in a lot of efforts, but sometimes what happens is that, see, I repeat this point, PowerPoint is only an aid, it is not a substitute. Isn't it? So ultimately, you are the master of the ceremony. So that idea has to be kept in mind, that by doing all that, if somehow you become more tense, whether you will get it right, you will be able to get it right or not. So I could feel that you have worked very hard and you wanted to, ensure that everything falls in place, and it was not falling in place, so it was making you tense. So it is better to go for a simpler solution which gives you more, confidence that you will get it right, rather than making it a bit too complicated, and ultimately that gets on you and you are not in your natural self. So avoid too many technical things which unnecessarily puts pressure on you. That's my first comment. The second comment is about your style of speaking. You were talking about variations. I will use the term modulations, and I will also use the word which we use for speech, and that is pacing of presentation. How do you pace the presentation? Now, generally, your style is to pace it a bit fast. So if you can slow down a bit and speak at a more comfortable pace, because audience also needs time to absorb the idea. It takes time for an idea to sink in, isn't it? So give that time to the audience rather than bombarding them with your heavy content. So my first suggestion is reduce your pace. The second thing is variations, which you said, and I would go for the word modulation for it. How do you vary the pitch of your conversation? Now, in your case, you tend to deliver it at a, if I can use a Hindi expression, at a sapat pace. It goes on. There are not much variation. And because you have a tendency to speak a bit fast, what happens in the process is that you slip through some of the words, and they do not come out as clearly as they should. So focus on your pace, focus on the modulations. Maybe
Yes,
if you listen to, have you recorded your presentation today?
sir, I think my friend has recorded presentation.
Okay. So listen to it again.
Yes, sir.
One more thing you need to note is you have a tendency to use a pet phrase like.
Yes, sir.
Just if you have the clip with you and you get it from your friend, see how many times you have used word like in your presentation.
Do so.
Now this unnecessarily, elongates our conversation, and it is not a very efficient way. If we use an expression which has no meaning, then naturally it will be inefficient to use that. So I think this is something which you can try out.
Sir,
And
I'll try working.
get over with this habit of using this pet phrase. But the positives of your presentation, as I said, were one, your preparation. the efforts that you made for creating engagement with the audience. Okay. So you asking them, for example, how do you rate these presentations? I think that was a good question, but there was no need to ask about your own performance. Maybe that may not be so apt at this juncture, because ultimately you are going to be assessed after the presentation. So, but yes, overall your point is valid that we have to engage with the audience. Now there could be different ways of engagement. One could be like what you did. You showed the video clips of 3 speakers and then asked them who was able to connect better. So likewise, it's a good strategy to engage with the audience, and you were using the. But naturally, every strategy takes time to get perfected.
Yes, sir.
So it takes time to master a strategy, and naturally it requires hard work as also experience.
Yes, sir.
Steve Jobs must not have got it right in the first presentation. So as they say, every end actually is a beginning. We learn from our performance, and when we do it, we reflect on it. Again, next time when we do it, we do a better job. तो ओवरऑल आई थिंक ये जो पैट फ्रेजेस की बात कर रहा था उसमें एक वजह ये भी होती है शायद दिस कुड बी वन ऑफ द रीजन दैट व्हेन वी आर नॉट वेरी कंफर्टेबल विद द लैंग्वेज वी डू नॉट हैव रिक्वायर्ड command over language. So what happens is that there are gaps in our delivery and we fill those gaps with these fillers. So maybe one way to overcome all these fillers is develop a lucid command over language.
Yes, sir.
When we develop that, the pet phrases will automatically be off from our conversation. Okay. So that's all is my feedback. I hope it was.
So thank you so much, sir. Definitely work on it.
Oneza, what is your reflection? I think you are muted, Oneza. Not getting it. Okay. In the end, you had technical problems. You can't live without it. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Nice.
Thank you, sir.